what a journey it has been. And when I started to think about it, I just thought, blimey, it was in a place called Friar Barnet, which is in North London. It was a little tiny amateur theatre group, and they were called the Incognitos. Now, a lot of you won't know even what that word means. It means sort of like the unknown, which it basically was. As I started in this amateur theatre, I just found for some reason that I identified with it. I was quite good at it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed trying to create these people that didn't exist. When you go back to the beginning, I found it difficult to believe that I would ever be able to achieve anything as an actor, a professional actor. I shied away from it for a long time because I never thought I was good enough, right? Eventually, it took me over. There were so many times during the course of my career that had it not been for that, that wouldn't have happened. And if that didn't happen, that wouldn't have done. Or if I had taken that course or that job or that journey, that wouldn't have happened and that wouldn't have happened. So my journey through my career was one of strange quirks of fate. When we did the first series of Fools and Horses, you'd got Nick Lyndhurst and, as it was then, bless him, Leonard Pearce. And we formed a bond, as we did with all of the other characters, Boycie, Trigger, Denzel, Marlene, Raquel, you name them all. It became a family. There was a wheeler dealer, very clever, upstairs, down there for dancing, and the next minute he was as thick as two short planks. But there you go. After one of the shows, John Sullivan and I were talking, as we did. We were great mates. He knew that I was an electrician. Funny enough, he said my father had a run-in with some electrical work, and the bloke in this big house, they were decorating the house, as I seem to remember, said that did he know anyone who could clean chandeliers because they were getting quite dirty and they were very expensive. John's father said, yeah, we do that. Yes, God, we do it. Yeah, we do anything. We are, in fact, specialists of that nature. So this bloke says, oh, really? I didn't know that. He's, oh, yeah, we do that all the time. So John was telling me this story. He said that they did all this, went upstairs, lifted the floorboards, undid the bolt, and they're downstairs ready to hold it. He said, and the one behind them dropped out of the sky. And I said to John, I fell about, and I said, John, you've got to write that. With Darling Buds, when I first read the book, when I was offered the part, I think it's fair enough to say that I said to my agent at the time, well, this will either be a huge success or it will be a huge flop. And she said, why? And I said, because there's nothing in it. I think part of its appeal was that so many people identified with, wouldn't it be nice if we were all like that? Pam and I were totally professional. We enjoyed each other's company very much. And we found it easy to play anything that was asked of us because we respected each other. All of the characters in Darling Buds and all of the characters that I've played and the people that have played opposite, I can say, except one or two people maybe, have been great to work with. Granville in Open All Hours, he was good fun, sympathetic, and like any healthy young man, he couldn't wait to lay his head on Nurse Gladys's bosom. By understanding that relationship and understanding how put upon he was, then that is what I invested in the character. And he became somebody who was desperate to break out, but couldn't because he just obeyed the rules that were set for him by his uncle. Jack Frost, because he was so dark, I knew what I was going to do. I wanted to introduce, where I could, some humour to lighten it. In other words, to make him more human. And I think that what we tried to do is to show a person who's a policeman dedicated to his job to such an extent that it affected his private life. And if you analyse it, you'll find that most policemen's private lives are a bit of a mess. People used to come up to me and say, Jack Frost is always eating. But it wasn't really that he was always eating, it's just the way that it fell, that if the scene demanded that it was breakfast, I would have to have a meal. But sometimes you do get a mouthful and you go to speak and you choke, or you spray your opposite number, George Toolan, with an egg sandwich or something. I think with Danger Mouse, one of the reasons that I was originally attracted to it was because of my love of cartoons. And that came from the fact that when I was a young lad, my mother used to take me to the pictures, usually Disney cartoons, and they were the big favourites of mine. So when I got this opportunity to go and audition for a cartoon character, and I just couldn't wait. Terry knew exactly his role as Penfold.
Do we, DM? When?
And I knew exactly my role as Danger Mouse. Good grief, Penfold. Whatever challenges there are in life, you should try and have a go, because it doesn't matter if you fail, because you can always say, whatever that is, you can always say, well, I had a go, and I wasn't good enough. I was prepared to do that. I really was. But fortune made other decisions for me. My wife and child and my brother and sister and friends that I've got helped me to not get carried away with success. So I'm kept my feet are very much on the ground. It's nice that I brought a lot of pleasure to people, because that's the most important thing, because that is what I sort of did it for in the first place, really.